Hello guys, I'm Ardarion and today I have something pretty cool to show you. It's a shrink ray in vanilla Minecraft. So you already saw it in action, just right click and it shrinks the block that you are aiming at. And this is the smallest state. It's so teeny tiny, look at it, it's so cute. Okay, so let me go and shrink this random assortment of blocks while I explain how this thing works. So it works on any block in Minecraft, or rather any block that you can mine with a silk touch pickaxe, and yeah, there is no limit to it. And what's cool about this is that it is super optimized. So you might remember in my last video, in the animating blocks video, how I talked about how nice it would be to find a clever solution to the problem of looking for a block in the world and then doing something with that data of what block it is. So last time we tried animating every block in the game and we had to go through a list of 650 blocks to find the right one. And yeah, that wasn't very optimized. So a couple of you suggested another solution using slash data modify and slash loot. So with the help of a couple of you guys, thank you in particular to Victor Kohler for your help and to the user Maxaxik who helped me write the command. So with the help of those guys, we were able to just fit the whole creation in those command blocks right there. I think half of which actually are used in the shrinking process, and that allowed us to do these cute guys. So as you can see, the log actually flipped because that's the default state of the log, and yeah, so this is really cool. Although this creation comes with a couple of caveats, so there are a couple of limitations. You can only shrink blocks that are mineable with a silk touch pickaxe, and on its own it wouldn't be that big of a limitation, but there are a couple of other problems. So you can see with this dispenser, it's actually flipped upside down in the second shrunk state, and the reason for that is that if it was upright, then the armor stand wearing this block would be inside a block and the dispenser would turn black, basically. So we have to make it so the armor stand is over the block and his head is turned upside down, so that we have this effect. And you couldn't notice with these blocks before, but with some blocks like the dispenser, the piston, a couple of other ones, it's really easily noticeable. But the super small state is it's just as normal. But a big limitation is with items that have or blocks that have an item form. So if I type in cobweb, you can see that this thing right here is not actually representative of the block. It's just a flat item. Like this is a block in my hand, it has a model, this doesn't have one. So when I try to shrink a cobweb, we end up with the item like this. So we can try shrinking it, and the item shrinks of course, but it doesn't look, as good as the other ones. Also, bedrock is not mineable with a pickaxe, so it just turns to air. So yeah, it basically turns into the last block I hit, and last time I hit this terracotta, so that's why it became a terracotta block. And the sea pickles also have an item. Glass panes have an item, although glass worked as normal, as you saw. And unfortunately we can't do cake, so yeah, it just turned into a glass pane. Chests work, although they turn upside down in the middle state and they are kind of floaty. And also the jack-o'-lanterns, also turned upside down. So yeah, this I think is the only block that actually grows when you try to shrink it. So that's pretty funny. But when you shrink it again, it's upside down and kind of smaller, and then it goes super small. And with fences, you actually get the default, two-poled fence. So end rods. Didn't we do end rods? No, end rods are kind of shifted on heads of armor stands, so that's why they are kind of tilted when we shrink them. So you have to be kind of far away from the blocks that you shrink, otherwise you right click on the armor stands and that doesn't count as a click. And we can't do flowers either, so flowers just turn into the item form. But still we can get some pretty great effects. So we can shrink a beacon and a melon and all of these blocks. And yeah, in a second I'm gonna talk about how this works in detail. So strap in for that. Let's just see how small we can get a block. So this is a button, and this is the first, second, and third shrunk state. And it's so tiny, look at it. Oh man. And the second place in the smallest shrunk block is the conduit, which also gets to be pretty tiny. Yeah. And it's also nice to see models of, models of various blocks, in the shrunk state, because it's so detailed. Like, to think that we can achieve this level of detail in such a small space, it almost makes me wish we could do a chisel mod in vanilla or something. That would be great. So yeah, let me get to the more detailed explanation. No, that looks kind of cool, like a crate or something. Nice. So the entirety of this creation fits in this line, this tower of command blocks. So I will include a structure file in the video description so that you can import it into your world and just click this button to set up the scoreboards and everything and give you the item, and you will be good to go. So what happens here when we right click the card on a stick, which we can detect with a scoreboard when we click it, we use a trick called raycasting. So we send invisible armor stand in the direction where we are looking, and when it makes contact with any block that is not air, and then it just triggers and set blocks an air block there so that it destroys the block, and summons an invisible armor stand called shrunk, I think. So let's see it, game mode spectator, and yeah, we can see the armor stand and another armor stand that wears this coral block on top of its head. So this is the shrunk armor stand in state 1. So if we hit it again and the our ray casting thing hits this armor stand called shrunk, it triggers another state which kills the previous coral block and summons another one. And this is a small armor stand wearing it now. So or actually it's up top here, and it has a rotated head 180 degrees so that it sits on the block below and doesn't turn black. So when we hit it the third time, then it enters the third state, and this is just a small armor stand holding a coral item in its hand. So yeah, that's how it looks, and that is, I think, the smallest that we can get a block in the game. I also pondered on doing another state, which would be a block held by a large armor stand, and that is slightly bigger than a block on top of a small armor stand's head, but the difference wasn't too noticeable, and yeah, I just decided not to do it, but that's also totally doable. So yeah, and also when we cast a ray, we also summon a lot of armor stands in between and do a particle effect and then kill them all. And yeah, that's basically it. When you are using this, be careful because it's a little bit buggy, and what I mean by that is that if we place two blocks together like this, we have to be careful to aim as far away from the actual block or from the side of the block as possible. So yeah, we turn this and then we have to fly all the way over here to turn this one, because if we shot like over here, then it would interfere and the blocks could interchange, and yeah, it's somewhat buggy. So yeah, but like this we can shrink them no problem. So what I still haven't talked about is how the block detection actually works. So that's the clever part. That's the thing that I wanted to figure out last episode. So we have this command block here that does this command: execute at the armor stand in that block to replace the block replace the first slot of the container here with the block that it finds. So last time we did planks. Let's just do a coral block again. Oh, okay, we have to aim at this face of the block because otherwise we were triggering air. Okay, so we fired at a bubble coral block, and here it is, bubble coral. So it uses a loot command, yeah, right here, loot, and it replaces the slot with the block that it finds there, mined with a pickaxe with a silk touch enchantment, basically. So that's how we get that to trigger, and then we take this block from that chest, and then we replace the first armor slot of the shrunk armor stand with the item that we find in the chest. And it's like the feet slot or something, so it won't show up graphically, but we then are able to use a data merge command, or a data modify rather. So we modify the graphical representation of the block. So for example, the small armor stand holding the item in its hand, we modify data so that in its hand it holds the same block as the shrunk armor stand wears on its feet slot. So I know it sounds a bit complicated, and it took me a while to figure out, again thanks to these two guys that I mentioned before, because without them I wouldn't be able to do it probably. But yeah, that's as simple as that. So we copy the block to the chest, and then we look at what item is in the chest and copy that to an armor stand. And the reason why we don't directly copy the block to the armor item is because we want to have a couple of these blocks. So yeah, basically we don't test for the chest item every time, just on the initial transition from a block to a shrunk block, and then we're basing the block type off of what block the invisible armor stand is wearing on its feet. Okay, that was a lot of words. So yeah, that explains how this thing works, and it could be fitted retroactively in this system right here, so that we don't have to use 650 commands to animate blocks. But you know, it's very simple to make this transition. It just needs like 3 extra command blocks. So I probably won't bother with an updated version of that thing, because it works fine as it is. But in the upcoming creations, I will first method, because it is much neater, much nicer, and much more optimized. So yeah, I think that's probably all that I had for you for today. Some more cool stuff with these types of ideas are coming, so stay tuned for that. And yeah, I hope you liked today's creation, and thank you for watching. And I'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye.